Oh, I'm so tired and I have to go work out. Getting older sucks. If you're like me, you have heard this from a lot of different people. And I'm actually not even that old. I'm 32, and tons of my friends love to talk about how they used to be able to work out so easily, and now it's so difficult. My knees, my back, my ankle, all these problems. And we often associate these problems with aging itself. We think that because we've gotten older, we recover much worse and are much less able to do things than we used to be, especially physically. But what I've realized is that these are premature cognitive commitments. We have decided that getting older is this decrepit, degenerative process where we just deteriorate for the last 60 or 70 years of our lives, that we peak in our early 20s, and then for the rest of our lives, it's downhill. And while some of that is true, certainly we lose physical speed and strength and flexibility as we get older, I argue that it's much later than we think that it happens, and it actually occurs at a much slower rate. So when I was 19, I played basketball with this guy who was in great shape, and he was in his 40s, and I banged my knee really badly, and we were lifting weights afterwards, and I just was saying, oh man, my knee is killing me. And I said, well, it'll be better tomorrow. And he just burst out laughing and said, I remember when I would just go to sleep and magically things were healed the next day, right? So certainly as we get older, we have more nagging injuries. Now, banging your knee probably will still heal the next day, but if your knee's tight or you did something to your muscles, maybe it will take longer to recover. But what I've realized is as I've started to work out more and more, that magic thing of falling asleep and being okay the next day has come back. So when I first started playing volleyball about 2 years ago, I remember after one day of playing, I was done for 2 days, and I thought, man, I'm getting old. I can't even play 2 days in a row anymore. But now I play 4 days in a row with no problem and go running the next day. Oftentimes, after my long walk in the evening, if I played a lot of volleyball or ran, I am tired, I am dead, I am walking with bad form and bad posture. But when I wake up the next day, I'm able to go running. And that's because I do it all the time. So when people say, oh, when I was 19, I could just work out like crazy. Well, that's because they were working out like crazy when they were 19. They were walking 4 miles a day in college and then going to the gym afterwards. Now they sit at a desk all day and work out twice a week. So it shouldn't be surprising that it's more difficult to work out. So what I'm saying is that we should not commit to this idea that aging is the reason for our problems. The reason we're not as physically fit as we were when we were 19 is almost exclusively because we're not as physically active as we were when we were 19. Yes, when we get older, especially in our 50s, 60s, and 70s, yes, we will not be as fit as we were when we were 19, but that process is much slower than we think, and we can stave it off even more by working hard. So most of us think that between 18 and 22 is when we were in our physical primes. But let's take an example of some elite athletes. Usain Bolt won 3 gold medals in a row, certainly the fastest man to ever exist. And when he was 30, he won an Olympic gold medal with a time of 9.81 seconds in the 100 meters. Obviously, that is incredible. Now, he trains like a maniac, I am sure. He is also genetically talented. But when he was 18, he couldn't even make the Olympics. So this idea that 18-year-olds are fitter than 30-year-olds is probably not true. The reason why 18-year-olds are fitter than 30-year-olds is because 18-year-olds tend to work out more than 30-year-olds. So don't allow aging to be an excuse for any degeneration in physical or mental acuity. So for Thanksgiving this year, I went to my grandma's house, and she had some family friends over, and my parents were in Minneapolis, so it was a lot of old people and me. And one woman in particular does have a lot of health-related issues. She is not as mentally sharp as she used to be, certainly, and a lot of that is because of aging. But when I was taking fruit onto my plate, I dropped a couple strawberries. I picked them up, and then I did it again. And I noticed myself doing this and just thought, wow, I'm clumsy today. I don't know what's going on with me. And I handed her the fruit plate, and she carefully put fruit on her plate. and didn't drop it. And I realized something interesting where if she had dropped the fruit, all of us would have thought, oh, it's because Mickey's old. She's just not where she used to be. She's old. But when I dropped the fruit, me and presumably everyone else, if they saw it or thought about it, would have said, oh, he's being clumsy, he wasn't being careful, or just nothing. It's just an accident. And so oftentimes we ascribe things to aging that could be something else. So don't always ascribe things to aging just because you feel like you're older than you used to, or you feel like you didn't used to do those things. You probably did. You just thought that you did them for a different reason. And lastly, I want to say that from infancy to about 18, we describe ourselves as growing. From infancy to about 24, we describe ourselves as developing. And from 24 on, or roughly there, we start describing ourselves as aging. And in our culture, aging is looked at negatively. We think getting older means being less able to do things, certainly physically, and less able to do things even mentally once we reach a certain age. And there just isn't enough evidence to support that. So what I say is never stop growing. Never stop developing. You will grow and develop until the day you die. Certainly you age from age 0 to when you die, but you also grow and develop until the day you die. So keep growing, keep developing. Don't use age as an excuse for anything. You can do way more than you think you can. You may have to put in a little bit more effort as you get older, but it's much less than you think. So keep growing, keep developing, and we'll see you next time.